Hello, I'm Rachel and I'm 35 years old. What I'm going to share with you happened fairly recently. It's been a couple of months and this story involved my ex-husband Jordan and my 9-year-old son Matt. We were your picture-perfect family. Jordan and I had a very loving and fulfilling relationship. Matt was a charming and very sweet child who we made sure we doted on at all times. Even our careers were going great. Jordan worked with computer software that allowed him to work from home whenever he wanted, and I was an architect. Being an architect meant that I have a lot of field trips that I need to make to study the land and the environment to determine how to design buildings and other infrastructure. This incident revolved around one such trip that I had to make. I had to visit a site 2 towns over for a huge work project. It was pretty far away, and that meant that there was no way I could commute back and forth every day. That only meant that I had to go stay there for however long was needed, although I was pretty sure it would at most be a week long. I needed to get things arranged for Jordan and Matt before I left though, and even before that, I needed to tell Jordan to take proper care of Matt. Jordan had pretty bad ADHD and often forgot to do a lot of things, including taking care of himself. I was very sympathetic to his case, and he has always made an honest effort to work around his mental illness. The both of us came up with a way to get him to remember to do things, and that was to set detailed reminders throughout the day so that he could do the things he was supposed to do. That night, after I put Matt to bed, I told Jordan about my upcoming trip. I have another site visit coming up soon.
Oh? When will that happen?
It's happening next week, and it'll be about a week-long trip.
All right. And who's taking care of Matt?
What do you mean?
As in, are we taking any measures to have someone look after him?
Yes, it's going to be you, his father.
Oh, I don't know about that.
What? Why?
You know how I can barely take care of myself, and now you want me to be alone with Matt?
What's with this sudden reasoning? You've been alone with Matt many times before, and it has never been a problem.
Well, I've always had either one of our moms also there to help me out.
We can't rely on them forever. Plus, Matt is old enough to not get himself in trouble. You just need to feed him, bathe him, get him to school, and make sure he does his homework.
That sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, well, welcome to parenthood.
Are you sure we can't ask your mom to help out?
My mom is a definite no-go. She and Dad are going to Italy tomorrow, and your mom's not well enough to look after Matt and you.
What about a babysitter or nanny?
I am not putting my child in the hands of a stranger because you refuse to try to be a good dad.
I am being a good dad. I know the things that I struggle with, and I know that I could hurt him.
Don't worry about that. We'll set up reminders on your phone, and I'll call you to remind you about what needs to be done.
All right, whatever. I'm tired. Let's just go to sleep.
I was really confused about why Jordan was so adamant about having someone else look after Matt. Matt was a very well-behaved child. I taught very early on how to take care of himself if he ever needed it, considering Jordan's ADHD. All Jordan had to do was monitor Matt at worst. I felt uneasy about it for the rest of the week. Something in my gut kept telling me that something was going to go wrong. It didn't help that Jordan barely spoke to me that week unless it was absolutely necessary for him to do so. I tried to ease my fears by, in a way, foolproofing my trip away from home. I bought a boatload of groceries, enough to last us a month. I made multiple reminders for Jordan, and I even set up reminders on Matt's iPad so he was aware of what needed to be done. I set up a checklist for what meals were to be eaten on what day, along with the recipes for the meals on the fridge. I even went as far as planning both Jordan and Matt's clothes for the week so they didn't have to worry about anything. The anxiety never went away, but there was nothing else I could do. Eventually, the day of my trip came and I got ready to leave. I hugged Matt goodbye and told him to reach out to me whenever he needed me. I turned to Jordan and told him about all the measures I'd taken to make his life easier while I was away, and asked him to just go through the routine that I had set up. Jordan assured me that everything would be fine. I then set out for my trip. I tried my best to calm my anxiety and reminded myself that Jordan had done this before and was a good father. Once I got to the site, I got busy pretty quickly. I didn't have any time to check in on Jordan and Matt until I returned to my hotel room late in the evening. I called Jordan up at about 9 p.m. "Hey, Jordan, how's everything going?"
It's going great. How's the journey?
Exhausting. I was on my feet for the whole day. After, I just got back to my room. I'm sorry I couldn't call you throughout the day like I promised.
It's okay. You set up enough reminders for me to even think of forgetting.
I just want both my boys safe, you know?
Yes. Thanks for all the things you did, although it does feel kind of insulting, you know.
It does? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to insult you in any way. You just told me that you were unsure of taking care of Matt all by yourself. I didn't want either of you getting hurt, so I took as many precautions as I could to make your lives easier.
Yeah, I get it, but I'm still Matt's father.
I'm sorry.
It's whatever.
Can I talk to Matt? How's he doing?
Matt's fine. He's gone to bed now.
So early? He usually sleeps at around 10:30 after he watches his favorite cartoons.
Today must have been exhausting for him. I don't know.
Okay, well, just talk to him and see if everything's all right. Keep me updated also. I'll call you in the morning before you drop him off at school.
Yeah, okay. Good night.
Good night. I couldn't help but feel like something was seriously wrong. Call it a mother's intuition, but I knew that Matt was not okay. My boy loved his cartoons more than anything. We regulated it by allowing him to watch them after dinner, as long as he completed all his homework before. Besides, watching cartoons with him became a family thing because he felt included in Jordan and I's movie nighttime. For Jordan to tell me that Matt went to sleep because he was too exhausted meant that something was wrong. I wanted nothing more than to go back home and check in on what was happening. The only way I calmed myself down was by reminding myself that if something was seriously wrong, Matt could reach me. He hadn't messaged me, so it was all okay. The next morning, I called Jordan right before he dropped Matt off at school, but I got no answer. My worry only grew, but I figured that both of them must have slept in. I was upset that Matt was missing school, but as long as they were safe, I didn't mind it. That evening, when I tried to call Jordan again, he didn't pick up. We had no phone at home for me to call either, and Matt's iPad had no paid mobile number. We had bought a SIM card just to allow him to log into WhatsApp, which is how I expected him to contact me. When I texted him, my messages weren't delivering, and when I tried to call, the call wasn't going through. I was full-blown panicking at that point. Everything in my gut was screaming that something was very wrong. I called Jordan over and over again before he finally picked up. I tried my best to remain calm as he explained that there were Wi-Fi issues, which was why I couldn't get in touch with Matt. He told me that Matt had asked him if he could go for a sleepover at his friend's place, and he agreed to it. I'm no fan of sleepovers in general, but I knew Matt's friend and his family, so I was okay with it. I made sure to give Jordan a piece of my mind for ignoring my calls until he confessed that he had been gaming, and so he did not hear his phone ring. He also confessed both of them had slept in, and so they didn't end up dropping Matt at school. Hearing all that relieved me. I had no idea why I was so anxious about this. It really seemed so stupid to me, but pretty soon all my fears would make sense to me. If I had known what was happening when I was away, I would never have gone on the trip to begin with. The next day, I got too swamped with work to call until pretty late at night. Jordan told me everything was fine and that Matt was asleep. Nothing raised any alarms in my brain because it was almost midnight. The next day ended up being my last day on the site, although we still had some work to complete first. I was on my site till around noon, and then I made my way back home. I reached home at around 7 p.m. When I got there, I saw that all the lights in the house were off. I rang the bell, and no one opened the door, so I unlocked the door myself. The house was pitch black, save for the light coming in through the windows. I called out for Jordan and Matt and heard nothing. I tried to switch on the lights, but they didn't work. My heartbeat picked up. I used my phone's flashlight to make my way around the house. I walked into Matt's room and saw him curled up under the blankets. I pulled the blanket away and saw him curled up in the fetal position with his hands over his ears. He looked emaciated and filthy. He kept murmuring. I was shocked to see him in such a state. I immediately put my hand on him and tried my best to calm him down. Once he saw me, I could see relief flood his face. He held on to me tightly and cried for a long while. When he calmed down, he refused to let me go, so I called Jordan. I needed to know what was happening here. "Hey, honey, what's up? Not busy today?" "No, it was pretty busy, but I got back a little earlier." "Oh, that's great. So where are you right now?" "Since you said you'd be away for a week, Matt and I decided to take a trip of our own." "A trip of your own? To where?"
"We were planning on going to the beach side. I rented us a room at the motel near there."
"That's good. But where are you right now?"
"We just left an hour ago, so we're still on the road."
"Why'd you leave right now?"
"Well, our mischievous boy only got done with his homework right now. I promised him we'd go only after he got done with it."
"That's great. Can I talk to Matt? I'm sure that he's really excited to go."
"Oh, yeah, the little man was jumping and screaming all over the place in excitement, but I can't give Matt the phone."
"Oh, why is that?"
"He ate a lot of sugar and the crash just hit him. He's knocked out. Which, I mean, is heavenly to my ears right now."
Right. Just call me when you guys reach."
"All right. You seem off. Is everything okay? You'd usually be really happy about this."
"I am. I'm just really tired. It was super hot today, and I was on my feet the entire time. Not to mention I barely ate anything because I had no time."
"Ah, all right. Take care of yourself and make sure you eat something."
"I will. Drive safe."
I had chills going down my spine. I didn't know where Jordan was, but all I knew was that he left my son at home all alone with no lights. If I hadn't come home, I didn't know what would have happened to Matt. Thankfully, I had recorded the entire call the second he started lying. I immediately called 911 and asked for assistance. They dispatched 2 cops to come check in on us. The cops asked some general questions, which I answered to the best of my ability. The cops tried asking Matt some questions, but he refused to talk. The cops asked me if it would be okay for them to come in and do a sweep of the house, and I agreed. A quick look in, and they told me that the main fuse for the electricity had been turned off. There had been no circuit breaks as far as they could tell, but they would have someone come over the next day to check it out. They then asked me if Matt and I would be willing to come down to the station to give our statements. I agreed because for the first time I decided to go with my gut. I knew that something was terribly off, and I wanted to know what it was. At the station, Matt still refused to speak, so I took him aside for a little while. I got him his favorite candy from the vending machine in the precinct and made sure he drank water. I carefully asked him what had happened after I left, and he was silent for a long while, so I asked him again.
Maddie, I need you to tell me what happened since I left. I'm really sorry that I let this happen to you. But if you tell me, then maybe we can get Daddy punished. Dad will be punished? Yes, of course. If the police don't do anything, I will make sure to punish him myself. Daddy deserves it. Why? Why does Daddy deserve it? Daddy left me. Yes, I know, and he's a horrible, horrible man for doing that to you. When did he leave you? You left that day, and then Daddy told me to be a good boy and stay at home. He went to your room and began packing his clothes. You packed his clothes? Yes. He told me not to tell you anything. I told him that I would tell you if you asked. Then he got red. His face got angry. I got so scared, Mommy. My poor sweet child. I'm so sorry that happened. Did Daddy hurt you? No, but he went and switched a bunch of switches off and then pulled the big handle in the electricity box. He told me there was food in the fridge and that he would be back in 5 days. What? You were alone at home for 5 days? It was so scary, Mommy. So scary. I tried my best to be a good boy, I promise. Oh, honey. You were the sweetest and best boy. Did Daddy tell you where he was going? No, he didn't say anything. Okay, well, honey, you're safe now. Mommy's here and she will never let anything like this happen to you ever again, okay? I need you to do me one small favor now. Will you be able to do it? What is it? I need you to tell the police everything you just told me. If you do, they can make sure that Daddy will get punished. Okay, I will do that. I was horrified. My heart ached for Matt. I could not even begin to imagine how scary it must have been for Matt to be locked in at home without any electricity. How cruel was Jordan for him to leave Matt at home without even electricity. And what had Jordan gone to do that was more important than his own son? The longer I thought about it, the bigger my rage grew. The cops took down my son's statement and took some pictures of him as proof. They also sent some officers back to our house to take pictures of the rooms, and on an emergency basis got someone to check the circuits in our house. There was no faulty wiring, so that meant that there wasn't any power trip. A quick check into our electricity bills showed that for the past 4 days, there had been no electricity used. I asked the cops to look into Jordan's whereabouts immediately because this was not something I was going to let go of. I asked them to get my son the justice he deserved for having endured the past 5 days. The cops assured me that they would bring Jordan in because what he did was considered child neglect and abandonment. In the state we lived in, it was considered a felony. We had ample proof of Jordan's crime, which meant that there was a high chance of him being convicted. They advised me to not go back in case Jordan came back and tried to harm us. I immediately called my best friend, Kylie, up and asked her if Matt and I could crash with her for the night. She sensed the urgency in my voice and agreed without question. When I got there, she took one look at Matt and looked very alarmed, but I told her that I needed to get Matt bathed and comfortable first. She quietly let me do what I had to do, and once I managed to put Matt to bed, I told her about everything that had happened. Needless to say, she was really angry and disgusted with Jordan. She wanted to call him up and yell at him for treating Matt that way, but we knew better than to do that. The cops specifically warned me not to go off with Matt and to go about doing my usual routine with him. If he suspected anything was off, then he might just take off.
Following my usual routine meant calling him the next morning, pretending to want to talk to Matt and know more about the trip they were on. Even though I really didn't want to do it, I needed to get justice for Matt. Not to mention, I wanted to be there to see him fall. So the next morning, I called off from work and called Jordan at the usual time I would every morning. Jordan greeted me cheerily, and I wanted to do nothing more than punch his teeth out. But I kept with my pretense. He told me that he and Matt were set to leave by noon, so they were planning on having as much fun as they could before it. He also mentioned how he missed me on the trip and that he wanted to do it, but with me only next time. Let me tell you, it took every ounce of self-control in me to not lash out at him at that moment. I ended the call pretty soon after I told him that I had to go to work. I alerted the cops about the information I had, and they told me that they were posted at our house waiting for him. They assured me that as soon as Jordan entered the lane that went towards our house, he'd have one cop car behind him, one right in front of the house that would effectively block any attempt he made to run. Around 1 p.m., I got a call from Jordan. "Okay, I don't know what the hell's going on, but there are a bunch of cops surrounding me." "Are you home?" "Yes, but technically, no, I'm in the car. They're asking me to get out, but I don't know why." "Get out of the car." "What? Why? Why aren't you more concerned?" "Are you really trying to act like you don't know what you did wrong?" "No, what did I do?" "Well, let me enlighten you. I came back home yesterday to my son cowering in our pitch-black home, looking starved and scared for his life. He didn't speak to me for a solid 2 hours, and when he finally did, you know what he told me? That you left him there after I left for my trip. Not only did you do that, but you also purposely switched off the electricity, effectively cutting off every form of communication he had." "So you call the cops on me?" "Why wouldn't I? Do you feel no remorse? What did you even have to do? The kid was fine. It was just a few days." "Yes, a few days locked in with no heating or AC or any way to take his mind off of things. Just surrender. You're going to jail, and there's nothing you could say that will change that. I will make sure of it." Things after that got pretty messy. I was in court once a week as we went over the case over and over again. Jordan's lawyers kept trying to defend him, but the cops that had been looking over our case tried their very best to find any shred of evidence of his whereabouts and what he was doing. And then they found out that he was in another state, going to various parties, and was even spotted on multiple CCTVs making out with a variety of other women. Needless to say, Jordan had no defense after that. He was sentenced to 10 years of jail time, and let me tell you, there was nothing more satisfying than getting justice. I'm so grateful to the cops who worked tirelessly to help Matt and me out. I immediately filed for a divorce from Jordan and was quickly granted it. Matt and I are slowly moving on from everything. The very first thing I did was sell our house. Matt was terrified when we drove past it one day, and I knew that there was no way that I was going to let my son relive those traumatic days every single day for God knows how long. I've put Matt into therapy, and I'm slowly starting to see him come back to his normal self, and I'm happy about that. I've taken a break from field trips, and while that has affected my finances, I don't care for anything other than Matt. My friends and family have been super supportive and helpful during these trying times, and if they're watching this, I hope you know how grateful I am for you. For everyone else, thank you for giving me some of your time.